Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing Philip K. Dick, A Comics Biography, The Improbable Life of the Author of Minority Report, Blade Runner, Electric Dreams, and Total Recall. So this is what the cover of this book looks like, and this is a comic or graphic novel style, and it is a biography of the science fiction author Philip K. Dick. He is a well-known author in the science fiction field. He has won numerous awards. He has passed away at this point, and he has some very famous works that have inspired movies and other things in pop culture. So Philip K. Dick is probably a name that you are familiar with if you're watching this review. He isn't an obscure author that few people know of. He is quite well known. I have actually not read any of his major works at this point. I want to put that right at the beginning. I have only read A Crack in Space and Cosmic Puppets. I have enjoyed his work. He probably isn't my favorite science fiction author, but he isn't my least favorite by any means either. And I realized, of course, that I didn't know very much about the author's personal life. It's just something I haven't looked into, and I have only read a couple of his works at this point. So when I saw this in my library's graphic novel section, I decided it might be interesting to give it a read. I'm reading through the Hugo Award winners and finalists for all years, and I know that I'm going to be reading more Philip K. Dick, so I decided it would probably be a good idea to get this book out, maybe give myself some background on this author that I'm going to be reading quite a bit about. So, as mentioned, this is a graphic novel, so the entire thing is in this comic format. However, it's not written for kids, it's written for an adult audience, even though nothing too graphic occurs in this. Just to make that very clear in case you were wondering, this isn't necessarily aimed at a child audience. It is aimed for an adult reader who wants to learn more about the author's biography, and that is who the target audience for this is. In this biography, also, the authors do not go deep into the minor details of Dick's life. The authors kind of stay high level and they kind of hit the broad strokes. I feel like when I reached the end of this graphic novel, I understood the broad biography of Philip K. Dick, but the minor details would need to be filled in later. I actually wound up looking up the Wikipedia article after reading this graphic novel because I wanted to know more about the author and see what had been left out. And there were some things that were minorly, I would say, left out of this, but it's not inaccurate. This is just a broad stroke depiction of this author's life and what he was going through. So Philip K. Dick has had some level of legacy in the science fiction world. His books are well known, he has some best hits, and he has had some books that have been turned into films. So his professional life, I would say he has reached a level of success that not all writers get to reach. He has success in that realm. His personal life, however, seems to have been a lot more varied and a lot more difficult compared to his professional life, which is not to say he didn't face problems or trouble in his professional life. He clearly did. I think a lot of writers, artists, they struggle to maybe get recognized or get their foot in the door or get accepted for the first time. But Philip K. Dick has established at this point, and he of course has since passed away, legacy in the field, and his personal life just seemed to struggle throughout his entire life. So throughout this book, we see, starting with Dick as a very young boy, where he kind of feels like a very soft boy. He feels like someone who's interested in music, and you can tell he's interested in writing, and science fiction magazines have had an impact on him as a kid. And then we see him kind of go into this young adulthood phase where he's trying to kind of establish his own identity, what he wants to do. He wants to get married, he wants to start writing, he wants his writing to be accepted, and we immediately see something that becomes a pattern through his life where he has trouble with the women that he is married to. He winds up going through, I believe it is 5 wives throughout his entire life, and frequently he gets into this relationship and things are good at first, but then they quickly deteriorate, and it almost becomes a theme throughout this book as we see Dick getting older and older throughout the book. Almost every time there's been a time jump and he's in a new place, he's with a new woman who is going to be his girlfriend or his friend or his new wife, and it never really lasts long. It seems to deteriorate. It seems like he had trouble maintaining a steadfast relationship throughout his entire life. These relationships that he got into seem to be very troubled and problematic. And if I had to guess, some of that was due to his behavior. He seems to be very sensitive about his writing, which I guess that's something fair to be sensitive about. And he does seem to have relied on using drugs to help his writing, aid his writing. He also struggled from what appears to be paranoia. He's very, very nervous that people are listening in on him, that there was a break-in. There was a break-in, I believe, that happened, and he seems to think that really happened and that people are after him, and people are going to steal his work, or they're there for something. It's the paranoia. So it doesn't really feel rational to a lot of people outside him, but he thinks it's all part of this internally consistent narrative that he's constructed in his head. He seems to have these hallucinations along with the paranoia, which of course are not going to be helped, and I don't know if they are caused by, but they're certainly not helped by the drug usage that he has. And I'm sure all three of these combined together make it very difficult for him to do that maintaining of relationships that he seems to have wanted, because he always seems to be moving from one relationship to the next relationship. And through this string of failed relationships, he's also leaving behind a string of children that he doesn't seem to have too much of a strong connection to, although the biographers in this comic novel never really dove into his relationship with his children, because we do see some of his children coming in at the end of his life to his hospital room. And I don't know, and the biographers in this graphic novel never really made clear if that was because he had reestablished a connection with these children from past wives, or if this woman was just seeking a connection on her own and was going to see her father, who was going to be passing away. So again, as I mentioned, this book is very much broad stroke. It's not really in the details of Philip K. Dick's life. It's very much outlining some of the key things that happened, and I feel like it really shines a spotlight on some of the more troubled aspects of the author's personal life. Again, all these struggles in his personal life just seem to compound and have made it very, very difficult, and it's very sad that an author who had such a genius collection of work, or at least an enduring collection of work that has stayed relevant to modern day, had such struggles in his personal life when it came to things like relationship and substance abuse, and maintaining connections with like his children and friends, and struggling with things like hallucinations and paranoia. Overall, this was very, very interesting. I did learn quite a bit about an author I did not know anything about. So that was overall it was very interesting, eye-opening, enlightening. I feel like maybe I will take this knowledge when I read the next book I read by Philip K. Dick, and approach that book maybe with the knowledge of how the author was living his personal life. It might just color the way that I see the book, which will be very interesting. I do not know the next book I'm going to read by this author, but I'm sure I'm going to read something by him in the future. So it's going to be interesting how the knowledge that I learn in this graphic novel and this biography will translate to the next science fiction work that I read by him. If you don't know anything about this author like I did, or if you're just looking for an easy place to start to get a biography started on Philip K. Dick's life, this could be a great place to start. It's very high level, but it gives you the needed information to understand the author's life and things that he was dealing with in his personal life. And I do recommend this to anyone who may be interested in learning more about Philip K. Dick's life, work, legacy, and some of the things he was struggling with personally as an author, as he wrote some of these works that are still enduring legacies to this day. If you have any books like this that you would like to recommend, I love getting recommendations from you, so please put those recommendations in the comment section below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.